Hello everybody, my name is Cincy and welcome back to Stormworks, except this time we're not going to be playing the game mostly. Yesterday, which would be September 11th, the Stormworks developers released quite a few screenshots of, specifically of the 1.0 update, the full release version of Stormworks, which is coming on the 17th. And a while ago they announced that there would be a new creative menu. Currently the creative menu looks like this. You have time, weather, tsunami, and megalodons. However, the new creative menu that they announced a while back is going to be looking very, very nice. If we go ahead and take a quick look at it, you can see that it has a lot more options than the previous one. Of course, on the left you can already see your override time with your current time. However, there's also two new options. The day-night duration, which is basically just changing the duration of the day and night, so it can be 5 minutes, it could be an hour. And there's also the sunrise and sunset time, which is the time that the sun may or may not rise. There's also override weather, which is exactly the same, except that apparently weather is going to be stronger and more extreme. We don't know how much more extreme, because the weather can get pretty bad in this game if you're far enough out. If we look here, the weather can get really, really bad. With winds and rain at 100%, these waves can match the size of this building. They don't look too bad, but once you get into, say, out here, it can get really, really bad. There's also the ability to change the wind direction. Is it going to be 0 through 100%, or is it going to say 0 through 359 degrees? Hopefully, that's what we can all hope. So, that's on the left side. If we go into the middle, we can also see that there's a lot of new settings. Previously, if you wanted to turn off megalodons or turn off advanced mode, you'd need to make a new game. Now, however, you can see that there are a lot of options. I'm just going to go through some of them in decent detail. So first off, you can lock them, which means that you wouldn't be able to change them. It'd be like having the override weather off. But if they're all unlocked, you can toggle vehicle damage, which means your vehicle will take damage or not. NPC damage, non-player characters, that'll be useful. So in case you accidentally drop them off the top of a wind turbine, they'll just Superman themselves. Player damage, which means if you fall off the top of the wind turbine, you'll just Superman yourself. Sharks, that's an interesting one, because sharks are actually pretty annoying in this game, which will be useful if they actually get disabled, because sharks are very, very annoying. Megalodon toggle, so you can actually turn off your megalodons so that they won't just come up and destroy you at random. Yes, they do spawn randomly. Don't know how often, but I know they do. Auto refuel. Going to assume that means that whenever you respawn your ship back at the dock, it'll refuel itself. And so you can obviously turn that off to make it act more like the limited fuel option in career mode, that you can turn it off. The next option is infinite money, which means, well, infinite money. It'd be a lot like creative mode, but for infinite money. Specifically infinite money. There's also infinite electric, which will be very useful for items like electric submarines. So this will be very useful. Previously there was the ability to XML edit a small battery to have infinite charge, but now it's going to be a lot easier because you can toggle it for all creations. Next is limit infinite fuel. It'll have infinite amounts of fuel, which means that your engines will just not consume a lot of fuel. Engine overheating. This is an interesting one, because engines overheat at 120 degrees Celsius in this game, and they never go below 5 degrees. So if you just want to, test your boat to see how fast it is without overheating it too much, obviously this is a really useful option, so you don't have to worry about your boat overheating. Next we have map players. Going to assume that will enable and disable players being shown on the map. At least that's what I'm going to assume it means. Please ignore the screenshot sound. Map players, that's an interesting one because I'm going to assume that it means that you're going to be able to turn off players on the map. If we look at the map right now, you can see that it shows your player, and if you're in multiplayer, it'll show an icon like this, but with a name. And so we're going to hope that that means that it will just disable the that. Then the next is map vehicles, as you see right below there, which will mean that icons like this, the steering wheel, will just not shown. Your vehicle will still be there, but it won't be shown, so you can have a clean map, which will be very, very useful indeed. 3D waypoints, which means X, Y, and Z instead of just X and Y. Does that mean we're also gonna get like a 3-input keypad? Because currently we have 2 input and 1 input keypads. So does that mean we're gonna get like an extra large which has 3 inputs? Or does that mean we're just going to have 2? It's very interesting on how that'll work, because that means for something like helicopters or VTOLs that it will be able to take off and land exactly where you want it in 3D space, instead of having to... How is you going to be able to place the waypoints? Who knows? Maybe when you go to the map screen and right click, it'll just place it at the terrain level, surface level. Or will it just... Because right now it just places that at sea level. So that'll be very interesting to see how the 3D waypoint system will work in game. And then next to that is first-person vehicle and first-person. That means that you'll be limited to third-person instead of being able to go into third-person like so. You'll be limited to just first-person, which is very interesting. And then next you see that there's an allow nameplates. I'm not entirely sure what it means. My first guess is that it means, like, the nameplates, if you're in multiplayer, you see the player's Steam name above their head. Maybe it'll disable those? Not entirely sure. You can comment it if you know what it means. And then there's also no clip, which is very, very useful, being able to just fly around the map, especially for content creators. Like, you can get a lot better shots instead of using the photo mode and have to finick around with this photo mode. So below no clip is allow teleport. Not sure what this means. Maybe it'll mean that you'll be able to just teleport to players, teleport to certain vehicles, because below that's fast travel, which means that if you can fast travel to places on the map by clicking on them. Below fast travel is allow teleport vehicles, which means that you'll be able to teleport vehicles back to the workbench. This has already been in the game for a while, nothing new. What is new, however, is allow vehicle spawning. Previously, if you wanted to disable spawning in multiplayer, you just remove their authentication, allow photo mode. That is an interesting one, because that means you might be able to just disable people taking photos altogether. Why? Because if you have first person on, players can use photo mode to go into third person and look outside the vehicle, which kind of ruins the immersion of first person. Below that, the last option here is allow respawning. This isn't like a permadeath option. A couple months back, they announced that you would be able to be revived by your co-op teammates, which is really cool, which means that you can either just wait there for your mates to heal you, or you can just respawn, or you can just disable it altogether. So we have allow vehicle cleanup, which is important for the buttons right below that, which is to clean all the vehicles. This is going to be really nice, because now you'll be able to clean up your vehicles and just immediately despawn them. Hopefully you're safe. Hopefully, if you're playing in multiplayer and the host decides to do that, hopefully your darn thing is saved. If it's not, I'm sorry, it's not my fault. And then next you have reveal the map, which I'm going to assume is just going to unveil the map to the player. And so you'll just be able to see everything, and then you'll have unlock all islands. I'm going to assume that those options there are going to be for creative mode only, saying how it has creative options. The ability to unlock all the islands, which means to purchase all of them, and be able to fast travel, to be able to reveal the map and clean the vehicles at once. And then finally you have your spawn tsunami and spawn megalodon buttons. Anyway, being able to disable fall damage will be really useful just suddenly, because that means that I will be able to do this without any harm. I don't know why